Hi, my name is Laurin. I'm the general manager and sommelier here at Old Drink Cellars, and today I'm going to be talking to you about food and wine pairing. And even more important, I'm going to be highlighting some of the foods and dishes at our restaurant partners. These are the amazing outlets that we have throughout the state that are selling our wines, and we wanted to sort of highlight them in this video today because we really appreciate everything that they're going through with things that are happening, and they've sort of been forced, like we have, to sort of shift our business, and now they're doing a lot of takeout. So we wanted to pair some of our wines with some of their amazing dishes and hope that maybe in your food and wine travels that maybe you guys could go and see some of our outlets and buy some of their amazing food and pair it with our wines, because all of these restaurants are still selling our wines too. So the cool thing is you can go and pick up your food and a bottle of wine when you go and get your dinner. So first thing that we would like to do is talk about our restaurant, the one that we have at Quaker Bridge Mall. Our chef there, Chef Jose, is doing some amazing traditional Spanish dishes and everything ranging from meats to seafoods to tapas. But there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about from a food pairing standpoint. One is the amazing Gazpacho that he's making this time of the year. It's a fresh vegetable soup. It's served cold. It's a mix of tomatoes and peppers. And I like to serve something like that with one of our super versatile wines that we have, which is our Vidal Blanc. Vidal Blanc is a really nice variety. It grows a lot in this region. It's very similar to Sauvignon Blanc, but slightly less grassy. It's a little bit more sort of citrus and clean, and it pairs really nice because it has a nice bright acidity. It pairs really well with something that's vegetable based like the Gazpacho. So because this Gazpacho is also bright and cheerful, so this would pair really well with that. On the flip side, some of the other amazing dishes that he does, one of them is his signature oxtail, which is a sort of braised meat that's like sort of slowly cooked, falling off the bone kind of deliciousness. For something like that, I would pair with our Syrah. So our Syrah has a really nice sort of spicy notes and a little bit of earthiness, but it's also very fruity. And it's a medium bodied red, so it would stand up to the meat in that oxtail. So I highly recommend something like our Syrah with some of the meat dishes that he's doing. One of the other things that he's really known for is his paella. And he does about 5 different kinds of paella. So I could go through sort of the whole litany of all the different paellas that he does and make recommendations, but I figure I'll just sort of stick to a couple basics that will pair with a lot of the different paellas. So some are vegetarian based, so that just has vegetables. He has others that have a mix of chicken and seafood. So I would pair something like that paella with our Chardonnay Reserve. And I know you're kind of thinking, that's kind of interesting. There's meat in there, there's vegetables, it's rice. Why would you pair a white with it? Well, the thing about paella is even though there's a lot of things going on in there, you don't want anything that's gonna overpower it because there's still a lightness to it. So something like this Chardonnay Reserve, which is more of a medium bodied white, would kind of stand up to all the things that are happening in that paella without overpowering it. Another great option would be our Rosé Reserve. So our Rosé Reserve is made with Chambourcin, which is a red grape. So you have a little bit of those red wine components, but again, it would stand up to something like a paella. Moving on to another great restaurant is our restaurant in Somerville. It's called Keema Greek. It's right on the main street. They have our full selection of wines. And since we closed our Bridgewater store, they offered kind of step up to be one of our retail locations. So you can get every wine we have at that location. And they are doing some amazing Greek food. And Greek food, again, can run sort of the whole spectrum from, fish dishes to they do a really nice shrimp with a tomato and orzo with some feta. They do gyros as well. So for something like a meat gyro, I would go with our Merlot, again, sort of very fruit forward, not too heavy in the tannins. With something like that shrimp and orzo with the tomato in it that I was talking about, again, I probably would go something like our rosé. It will stand up to the tomato but won't overpower the dish. And then obviously they have a lot of different seafood dishes, so something like our Pinot Gris would be absolutely amazing. So that's Keema Greek in Somerville. And I have two really amazing pizza places that I would like to talk about that are doing some delicious, amazing pizza. One is DeLorenzos in Hamilton. Obviously, they're very well known for their tomato pies, but they also do different things with meat pies. So pizza can kind of get a little complicated depending on the toppings, because that's what you're really pairing the wine with. So if you're going to have more of a vegetarian pizza with peppers and onions and olives and mushrooms, I would definitely go Chardonnay Reserve. Again, you want something that has some brightness and some acidity, but that can stand up to all the stuff going on in that pizza. So this would be my recommendation. If you're going to go with a meat pie, something with a lot of different types of meat on it, pepperoni and sausage and hamburger and things like that, I would probably go with either our Merlot, because again, it's a fruit forward, softer red, but it's about the same weight in terms of the meat on the pie and the cheese. You're going to want a red. And Artisan, which is in Caldwell, New Jersey, is also doing some amazing pizza. You're going to want to check them out. They have the full spectrum of vegetarian pizzas, meat pizzas, amazing, amazing pizza. So if you're in that Caldwell area, again, they have all of our wines. We highly recommend you go and get yourself really good pizza and a bottle of wine. Couple of restaurants that are really local to the winery. One is Platform One. They're right in Flemington. They do a lot of different types of dishes, but one of the things that they're most famous for that we really think is amazing and delicious is their prime rib sandwich. So it's prime rib, it's kind of like a cheesesteak, but with really good meat and cheese on it. Something like that, you're gonna want something that can stand up to all that stuff that's happening. So you're gonna want something like our Cabernet Sauvignon. Again, it's fuller bodied, it's gonna stand up to that prime rib, but it has the tannin and the acid to sort of cut through all that cheese. Is your mouth watering yet? Mine is. So I highly recommend you visit Platform One in Flemington, get yourself one of their prime rib sandwiches and a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon. Another really great restaurant in Flemington that is also one of our restaurant partners is Bluefish Grill. They do sort of eclectic food dishes. Some are seafood based, but then they get really creative in a lot of the things they do. Their specials are phenomenal. I would recommend you go on their website. They're different, they change things up. But one of the things that they really do that I think is really cool is they experiment a lot with heat in a lot of their dishes. So for something like that, you're gonna want something that has a little bit of sweetness to it. So I would highly recommend something like our Riesling, or if you like something even a little sweeter, you're gonna want something like our Blush. It's about 3% residual sugar. It's a blend of Pinot Gris and Syrah, so it has a lot of complexity, but that sugar will help cut, the sweetness in the wine helps to cut down the heat. So I highly would recommend something like that when you're dealing with foods that have a little bit of heat. You're gonna want a little bit of sweetness. Not a lot, but just a little to sort of tamp it down. Moving on to a couple great Italian restaurants. Villaggio Icara and Rodolfo's. So Italian food, so just kind of go back, Villaggio Icara is in Yardsville and Rodolfo's is in South Plainfield. So Italian food gets a little complex. There's, again, such a range of dishes and things that you can pair it with. Something like linguine with clams, you're gonna wanna go with more of a Pinot Gris, which is also very similar to Pinot Grigio. Something like an eggplant Parmesan, which is a very popular dish, you're gonna wanna go Blush if you want something a little bit sweeter, or you're gonna wanna go with Pinot Gris. Something like a lasagna, you're gonna want a lighter bodied red, so something like our What Exit Red would be phenomenal. This is a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Syrah, and Red Zinfandel. Again, it's sort of very versatile, light, fruity. It's gonna pair a lot with those tomato-based dishes, so your lasagnas, your ziti, things like that. Something like this would be perfect. It's not gonna overpower it. It has a lot of fruity notes to it. One other restaurant that we just started working with is in Lambertville, New Jersey, and that's Towpath Americana. They're right in the downtown of Lambertville, and they have a lot of range in the foods that they're serving. They have sandwiches and salads and soups. I happen to love their Greek salad, so something like that I would go with our Vidal Blanc. Again, you're going to want something with some nice crisp acidity with the vinaigrette and the feta. Something like this would pair really well with it. But they also do like a really good buffalo chicken sandwich. Again, that's going to have some spiciness, so you're going to want to go Riesling or our blush. And one last restaurant that I would like to talk about is PF Market in West Caldwell. I thought it'd be fun to throw them in there because they're known for their seafood. So I say when you're pairing with seafood dishes, and sort of pairing in general, you always want to go with the sauces in the dish, how things are prepared. It's not just whites with chicken and meat with reds. You're going to want to look at how the dishes are prepared and everything they're putting in them to figure out how you want to pair the dishes. So your lighter seafood dishes, you're going to want to go with a lighter white. Your more medium-bodied seafood dishes, or maybe something that has like a butter sauce, a lobster, or something that's sauteed in like a butter sauce, you're going to want something like our Chardonnay Reserve or a rosé. Again, you're going to want something sort of medium-bodied that can kind of stand up to the heaviness in the dish, and not necessarily just the protein or just what's in it. So I know that I was throwing a lot of our restaurants at you, a lot of food, and a lot of pairings, but I just wanted to kind of showcase these restaurants. They're doing amazing things during this time, and they're trying to keep their businesses going. So again, our website, if you go under the tasting room, it lists all of the restaurant outlets, all their addresses, phone numbers, clicking to their menus. I know they're all doing takeout, so please, if you're going out and some of these restaurants are in your area, tell them we sent you, grab a bottle of wine and some great food, and we hope to see you all at the winery soon.